Very good morning to you and welcome to Standpoint, the center of all talks of politics. Today is Wednesday, the 18th day of January 2024. Of course, it's a beautiful day down here in the city of Umuahia, Abia State. My name is Moses Ben, saying welcome to today's edition of the program.
And I'm Joy Nochiri. Okay, so Ben, how are you? How was your night?
I'm good. I've observed that whenever you come into the studio in the morning like this, you always discover. Is anything the problem?
Why wouldn't I cover up myself? Always under the weather. Anyway, I had a beautiful night rest. And to some persons who have a relative residing in Abuja, okay, don't worry. Very, very soon, tell them that they will be sleeping with their two eyes closed as the pepper them Corona. Okay, you know who I'm talking about. Pepe Devil. Yes, so we can Pepe Devil. Okay, so he's actually on top of the matter as he held a meeting with some stakeholders. Don't forget that President Bola Tinubu also, held a security meeting with security chiefs. So don't worry, let them know that very soon normalcy and peace will return in the Federal Capital Territory, and that's my way. Okay, welcoming you officially to the program Standpoint on Rapid 96.5 FM. As today we shall be discussing Mega Party in Nigeria 2027 election in perspective.
All right, it's important that the issue in the capital city of the country, Abuja precisely, is being taken into acute consideration, because by the time things happening around security move down to Abuja, where the seat of power is, talking about foreign allies, foreign communities, international communities, people who do business, they'll be questioning if the Abuja, the capital city of Nigeria, is being affected. What's the hope of running our businesses successfully?
Oh, definitely Nigeria will lose a lot when that happens. So it's actually good and nice to know that they are on top of the situation.
All right. I was excited when the people of Abuja were saying that the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, you've left your responsibility in Abuja, trying to front your structure in Rivers State. But it's good that he has clamped on the issue by convening security heads to ensure that this menace is drastically or is totally eliminated in Abuja.
And it's actually good to know that his attention has been diverted to something that is very, very important and vital at the same time.
All right. On Standpoint this morning, we have our guest standing on with us this morning. But before then, it's interesting, Joy. We got a cheering news yesterday from the Abia State government that very soon the first modular refinery in Abia State will start producing. Of course, this information came from the table of the Honorable Minister, Commissioner for Information, Prince Oke Kanu, who said that the structure at Owaza, if I am not wrong, by 2025 would start operating. Joy, it's a cheering news.
Cheering news, I must tell you, Moses, and it will also bring a development to our state, and at the same time create more employment opportunities for the teeming youth. And also, we've been, clamoring for this development. And congratulations to Governor Dr. Alex Otti. You're doing well, and we continue praying for you. Praying that what you've actually lined up to do in Abia State, you will execute them before your tenure comes to an end.
All right, let me remind the government also, because we've seen this several times in this country, either in this state or the other state. You come up with policy statements like this. At the end of the day, you will do one or two things and leave it at that point. Please, the people of Abia State will be so excited if they see this promise become a reality at the end of the day.
Be that as it may, our fingers are crossed.
All right, certainly let us delve into our conversation this morning, gentlemen. Please, this morning on Standpoint, we want to look at important issue at this point in time. It happened towards the 2015 general election, but before then, from time to time, it came up, but it wasn't successful. It didn't come to the limelight.
Fusion, yeah.
Yes, so we'll be talking about merging for Mega Party this morning. It's interesting, but not actually on a good note, that the Nigerian election process has been considered over the years to be a do or die affair, which underlies the competitiveness and acrimony that characterize the quadrennial political ritual. It comes every 4 years, and then by constitution, you can only serve for 2 tenure, being 8 years altogether. So our attention would be on this issue at this point in time, following the development that has come up from the angle of one of our own, talking about a Nigerian, Pat Utomi. Joining us this morning to look at this issue on Standpoint is a public affairs analyst and good governance advocate, Comrade Chris Makul Nwosu. Good morning, sir, and welcome to Standpoint.
Good morning, Ben. Good morning, listeners, and Happy New Year all.
All right, thank you. The Federation of Nigeria rather operates a presidential system in which elections to executive and legislative positions take place every 4 years. These elections also take place across 36 federal states for the state governors and legislators. And in the Federal Capital Territory, federal and state executives are constitutionally permitted a maximum, as I have stated already, of 2 terms each. So the competitiveness inherent in presidential system worldwide seems heightened in Nigeria. Comrade Chris, that's my own concern at this point in time. I don't know if it's because of the immense power, resources, influence, and perks constitutional granted to the president, who directly commands both the army and the police and appoints both the cabinet and the boards of over 500 parastatals. According to the Orasanjo report, about 500 and something MDAs are operating in Nigeria. That if you look at it closely, you are duplicating responsibilities. So, sir, Pat Utomi, you know him, the advocate of there was this thing he did towards the 2023 general election, talking about big tent. Yes. He has come up again to say that he has proposed measure of opposition parties to wrestle power from the All Progressives Congress in 2027. He had revealed that presidential candidates in the 2023 general elections, that is Atiku Abubakar, and then he talked about Peter Obi and Rabiu Kwankwaso of the New Nigerian People's Party have agreed to form a formidable party that would sack the APC in 2027. Firstly, this is from Pat Utomi. What's your reaction to this particular one first? We have other issues surrounding merging of political parties to oust the current political party in power.
Well, thank you very much for that question, because it's important we put things in perspective. I did like to look at it from actually 2 trajectories. I do not, as a person, believe that politics should be about the business of taking over power at the center or at any level for the sake of taking over power. I believe that politics should be a vehicle to development, a vehicle to enhancing the living standards of the common people of every society, especially. When politics departs from that, then the very essence for which it should be there is not being served. So having laid that foundation, we have a young government in power. All the controversies surrounding the government or the election of this government or its advent has been put to rest by the courts, either for good or for bad. But the important thing is now that we have a government in power. So while for the politician, it's not too early to talk about 2027, because as you well know, politicians start planning the next election the day after the first, the election holds. So it's not out of place for Pat Utomi and like minds to be thinking with how to annex power in 2027. But I want to say that much will depend on the performance of the incumbent administration. Right now, it's not Uhuru, and everybody knows that. Nigerians can feel that in all indices of life, in all walks of life, in all aspects of life. Nigerians are going through a very tough and difficult time at the moment. So it pays to talk about the business of or the politics of 2027 because the people are not, in the best of the situations. Now, that being the case, we can address Pat Utomi's proposal in that context. But I can tell you that if peradventure going forward, this government does well, then that task becomes even more Herculean. And recently we saw the president try to take measures that would cut costs, something Nigerians had expected him to do, from ground zero when he hit the ground. But he didn't do. We saw a lot of waste. We saw a lot of junketing that was not actually going to yield any reasonable result. I say that because the biggest testament for driving investments into the country or attracting investments into the country will be the testament of those already established in Nigeria. So, but you can't junket the world, asking people to come and invest in an environment where blue chip companies are living in droves. That to me was bad business. That to me was not thoughtful enough. So going forward, it will largely depend on the success of the measures of this government. But then let's look at the propriety or otherwise of the proposal put forward by Pat Utomi. As I said, because it looks all gloomy at the moment, the propriety is there to look in that direction. However, like you said in your introduction, or like you noted in your introduction, this won't be the first time that we're talking about mega party. This won't be the first time we're talking about merger. This won't be the first time we're hearing about coalition. And oftentimes, you realize that when these things start, there's always a lot of enthusiasm surrounding them. But then, when it is progressed, the personal ambition of the respective individuals, particularly the leading lights in the arrangement, becomes a problem. And how they manage it, tells a lot as to the end. We've not seen a very fine end except from the experiment done or carried out by the APC in 2015, because you could say that it was a kind of coalition and merger that brought about the coming to being of the APC in 2015. So it's not wrong for the Prof to also propose or believe that only a coalition or a mega party can upstage the APC, particularly given the quality or the kind of politicians that are at the helm right now. These are field generals, these are deep-pocketed politicians, these are politicians. The president himself is a good manager of men. You can't take that away from him in the Nigerian context. So, and it's not surprising to see that after the court had, rested the issues, we've seen even very vocal people in the opposition now angling to get back to the APC. Daniel Bwala, for example, is one now back in the APC and all that. And here was a man who was speaking, criticizing government even up to 2 weeks ago. So that's the kind of politics we have in Nigeria. That is the trouble, and that is why they are thinking about a merger now. So for me, the merger is the right way to go if they want to upstage the APC, particularly if it fails to do well by the turn of the next election. I do not believe that any single party as constituted now, be it the Labour Party, be it the PDP, be it the NNPP, and all the other smaller parties that we have, be it the All Progressive Grand Alliance and all. None of them can upstage the sitting government as one political party. But if there's a merger and it is managed well, then they can hope to achieve good results. However, even at this stage, as early as it is, and while Pat Utomi has been saying that the merger will be targeted at actualizing the presidential ambition of any of the top-rated candidates, whether you like it or not, if we want to be frank in our analysis, if we want to be frank in our outlook, already people are permutating. The people are saying, to get to annex power from the APC.
Yes, sir. We'll come to that. We'll come to that particular angle because.
Okay, then. So for me, the move is appropriate in the circumstances. However, my take is that it should not be for the business of annexing power alone. But it's gladdening to the heart to hear Pat Utomi talk about a new beginning, talk about defining the ideology of the proposed political party, mega party, and all that. If that is done in a way that clearly, it can distinguish the new party from the status quo and what we know, then there is hope for them.
All right. Another issue, sir, is the issue of ideology of our political parties. Political parties are very essential tools through which you can get to power and then control the governance of a society. But oftentimes in Nigeria, this party will come up today to say that we are in for the business because of this cause. At the end of the day, you see something quite different from their initial establishment. We can say that of the government of President Muhammadu Buhari. Everybody then perhaps keyed into it because of the mantra of fighting corruption and all of that. But we can say for sure what played out in that administration. Let's leave that. Let's talk about ideology of political parties in Nigeria. How has this been helping the system? A party says that we want to do this because of what we are driving with. At the end of the day, they do something different altogether.
Well, if I want to be frank in my opinion, in the recent Nigeria political history, there's not been any distinctive ideology separating the political parties. I think the last time we had a somewhat innately defined pattern within the political parties is during the military experiment while trying to transit to the current democracy that we enjoy. I'm talking about the days of the NRC and the SDP. As the then military president puts it, a little to the right and a little to the left. Outside that setting, all we've had is political parties paying lip service to ideology. And then it is gladdening that even Pat Utomi accepted this while harping on this new arrangement. So what they do here is pay lip service to ideology. But the difference between all the political parties, the different political parties, ideologically speaking, is like the difference between a 5 and 6. So if this new arrangement has to go on, we have to see sincerity. We have to see the distinctiveness of the new political party in terms of, because that's why I believe that's why Pat Utomi talked about, defining the new arrangement and, knowing what to do to become a member and all the obligations that are there for members and all that. Even in the existing political parties, members are supposed to pay some kind of monthly dues. But I can tell you for certain, as someone who is active on the field, that nobody does that. In fact, the only time people remember to pay the dues is when individuals want to contest election. So to fulfill all righteousness, they go meet the party chairman in their respective works, and then these dues are paid in some cases and vetted, so that you don't have an issue. So right now, I see no ideological difference between, and that's why people switch parties at will. I am not condemning them because I've also been an apostle of the fact that you cannot stop cross-carpeting from one political party to the another in as long as the parties are not separated by clear-cut ideologies. So what is happening in this party is the same thing that is happening in the other party. All there is the business of annexing power. They see the party as vehicle. And because that is the way it is with all the political parties, I've always maintained that it is lip service when people condemn, a particular politician or candidate or office holder from jumping from his party to another political party. And that's why you see, I'm sorry to say, misguided youth, because I think the problem of politics in Nigeria today also has to do much with young people in politics. And like we are seeing it in the new administration already. People you think will go there and try to carve a niche for themselves, make name for themselves, and make the young people proud, have gone there, and what we are seeing are less edifying behaviors. So you begin to see that the hope is very slim that these things will be gotten right. Today, a politician jumps ship, and a particular set of young people will try to crucify the person, condemn him, and all that. And then tomorrow, the very person they are supporting jumps ship, and they try to pontificate over it. They tell you that there's nothing wrong with jumping ship. So that's why I said people must be clear-cut. For example, you know me, my foundation has been that I do not criticize any politician for jumping party, because the conditionalities to deter them from doing so is not there. And so they continue to do it. So if I don't have a problem, if there are no conditionalities, why must I decide when I think it doesn't favor me and then try to, support the same political flirting when it favors me? That is the problem. So the issue of ideology is a big issue in the Nigerian political setup. And if I want to be honest with you, I do not see the Nigeria, overcoming that in the nearest future.
Comrade Chris, you said the measure is dependent on the performance of the current administration. You actually touched the cotton cost of governance that President just started. Now, let's look at obstacles to this measure. Peradventure, this measure comes to play. Don't you think it will encounter major roadblocks owing to selfish interest among likely candidates? Okay, if your answer is in the affirmative, now
yes,
what are these obstacles?
Well, the obstacles will largely be managing the political ambition of the respective major aspirants. I will use the last scenario to paint a picture. The truth is that looking at the result, and we saw this coming, everybody was saying it, critics, pundits, were all over the marketplace with it, that there is no way, an OB running under a Labour Party and Atiku running on PDP's platform, these are people sharing virtually the same supporters, could break up like that and then be able to overrun the challenge from the APC, the state government of the APC. And if you look at the result, that was what played out. If you add up Obi's votes to that of Atiku, even exclusive of that of the Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso of the ANP, you would see that it would have been a clean sweep for the PDP in that election. But managing their personal ambitions became a problem. You understand? Even some people who were not actually in the picture but had money to throw around, I don't mention names now, didn't help matters in their own political parties, because to them it was either going to be them or no one else. So an election was that was for the PDPs for the taking now became an issue, because the PDP balkanized and watered down its strength, and we saw what happened. So the point is that if they are really serious about the measure, they must be able to manage the ambition of the respective leading aspirants that will emerge on the platform of the new party. And one way to do that successfully will be sacrifice. But again, in sacrificing, you see, sometimes what would work wouldn't resonate with the people. It's not initially, tenable, because a lot of people don't see it from, a very neutral perspective. If you want me to hazard into that, I can tell you for certain that I am a Southern, and I'm glad I am.
All right.
So it's not like I don't want the South to choose the president. But if you look at what is going on already, you will see that a very populous section of this country is not at home right now with the way things are going in Nigeria, appointment-wise and otherwise. Of course, everybody knows that this sitting government has had lopsided appointments. We criticize Buhari for doing that, but we're even seeing that the more under this new administration. And some segments of the country are not happy. So I doubt that that segment of the country will leave anybody contesting from its zone to now, or from its regions, to now vote another Southerner in 2027. So if you really want to make progress, you will see, I said this at the risk of being misunderstood,